In this video, I talk with best-selling author and serial entrepreneur Peter Voogd, and he talks about how to get more followers and make more money while making the next 6 months the best 6 months of your life.
And you got me to share things I've never shared, so very good job. I'm excited for people to see this.
This one gets real.
Check it out.
Let's go. Well, I'm super excited to get into this because you wrote a book called 6 Months to Six Figures. I love this book. We'll link it up in the description below. I actually listened to the audiobook, and it goes through a lot of tactical things to have the next best 6 months ever. I mean, not only financially, but it's about getting your focus right and all these types of things. So can you walk us through that process for influencers watching? You might want to journal, pull something out to write with, because you go through some tactical things. And I really believe, influencers, that the next 6 months could be your best 6 months. So Peter, let's dive into it.
The first thing to realize is if me and you were talking to 100 entrepreneurs and we said, are you gonna have the best 6 months you've ever had? How many hands would go up? All 100.
Like everybody.
Everybody. Because people love the excitement and they'd love to talk. But if you fast forward 6 months and we sat with the people, every single one of them, probably 3 to 5 would actually have had their best 6 months ever, and 95 would still be talking. So I wanted to help the people that actually needed the guidance and the roadmap to get the 6 figures. And this is not about making 6 figures. It's about having the best 6 months you've ever had. Yeah. If you make 60K, it's going to 150. If you make 250, it's going to $500,000. If you make 6 figures, it's going to 7. So the first step for me when I was dead broke and frustrated, I get chills thinking about that because it's not fun. But if you're there, I'm glad you're there, because you need to get to that place to get to the next level to get that hunger. So first step is absolute clarity. I had to figure out exactly what I wanted, who I was and who I wasn't, and for me, who I needed on my team. So the first step is getting crystal clear on what you want. If I ask entrepreneurs, once again, what do you want in the next 6 months? What's your ideal outcome? 95% have no clue. They don't know. They're like, well, I want more money. I want to build a brand. Yeah, so does everybody else. But what's like the deep dive details? Like, how many employees do you want to have? How involved are you in the business? How much money are you making? What are the feelings you're experiencing? Like, where are you going to be living? What's your marketing campaign? How much money you're bringing in per marketing? Like, all these things that they don't think about. So the first step is to create your ideal outcome. That's the first step. Now, here's the scary thing. A lot of people base their ideal outcome, or they base their 6 month vision on their past or on their insecurities. Yeah. Not their potential or what's possible. So, and my mentor had to help me, because I was basing it off like, well, I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could, and everything was based on my fears. So the key here is getting rid of all limitations and not thinking at all about your fears or your experiences. And if everything were to work out perfectly, what is your ideal outcome for the next 6 months with no limitations? That's the biggest key. And writing that down and just brainstorming for like 10, 20 minutes. What's the ideal situation? Where are you living? What's your business look like? How much money are you making? How's your team look? How involved are you? And writing it all down.
And if we stay on number one for influencers, they're writing that down. They also might be writing down like social media numbers.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
Email list growth. What is the tension between not going too small, but also not potentially going too big and being unrealistic?
I think you have to mix of both. I think there should be like a 30-day, 90-day, 6 month, then 3 to 5 year. So like the in-between's kind of fuzzy, but just if you get a 30-day like lockdown and then like a 90-day and a 6 month, and you just have benchmarks. It's funny you say that. I track my social media every single month. I track down like literally Snapchat views. Yeah. How much are my Snapchat views going up? Instagram views, Instagram followers, Instagram posts. How many likes am I getting? How many are my average comments? What are my YouTube subscribers? I tracked all that. You can't manage it unless you track it, and you can't improve it unless you manage it, right? Yeah. So if you're a social media influencer, track exactly where you want your accounts to be. How involved do you want your consumers or your fans, right? How many comments do you want? What's the purpose of your social media? What's the purpose of the brand? How many customers do you want from that brand? What's the end goal? How are you gonna make money? Do you want sponsorships? Do you want people to do like influencer marketing? Are you going to build a product, a service? Are you going to be coach? Whatever. So that's the first step. Second step is figuring out your values. This was big for me, because if you know your values, it's easier to make decisions. So after I wrote down my ideal outcome, I figured out my ideal values, like what's most important to me. Because here's the scary thing. If you don't base it off your values, you're going to go down this path without knowing yourself, and all of a sudden 2, 3, 5, 10 years later, damn, I did all this work and it's not really fulfilling. So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm committing to going to keep me fascinated and engaged the next 3 to 5 years? Is my value flexibility, or is it financial freedom? Is it family? If your value is family and flexibility first, and you get involved in this job where you have to work 100 hours a week, you're incongruent with your values and you're stressed out. So, and your values change. Like now my value is family first, flexibility. You couldn't pay me $100 million to do something I don't want to do, because it's not me. Like you can't tell me what to do because I like my freedom. So values, family and influence and freedom. And then it's financial freedom. That's why I've turned down $10,000 speeches, and I've given free speeches to inner city kids. Yeah. If my value was money first, I would have done a lot of stuff just for the money.
Sure.
So knowing your values, figuring out what your values are, then it's your top 5 for the next 6 months. Here's where you get tactical. What are the 5 things that if me and you were hanging out in 6 months, what would have had to happen for you to be completely satisfied, happy, and excited about your results? The 5 things, whether it's building your YouTube, so pick just 5 things that are most relevant to your vision, to your values, to what you think is gonna build you up the next 6 months after that. And they have to challenge you, but also obviously be a little bit reasonable. Like if you have 25,000 YouTube subscribers, you can't be like 50 million.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So be reasonable, but also be ambitious in that. Right below that, I wrote down my top 5 reasons. I actually wrote down 25. So what are the reasons that are gonna make sure you do this and actually have the motivation? So reasons are the fuel. Reasons come first, results come second. So I needed to have a lot of strong reasons to pull me past the challenges. Like if I was gonna make 6 figures, I needed to have a lot of reasons to get me there. There's 1,700 new millionaires created in the US every single day.
Wow.
Every day. 1,700 every single day.
Dang.
And Fortune magazine said the number one reason that there's not more is people don't have enough reasons to become one. So reasons come first. So write down your top 25 strongest reasons of why you want to be an influencer, because every single day there's influencers coming online and 98% of them never rise above the noise. They're like everybody else, they don't make money, then they eventually quit and settle. So if you want to rise above the noise, you got to figure out your strongest reasons. And then 15 or 20 of those, Sean, are BS. They're like, I want a nice car. That's great. Cars are amazing. I love my Tesla, right? But it's not the reason I do it.
Yeah.
So that reason is not exciting to me. It was at one point, but I realized it's not the material things. So figure out your 4 or 5 that are the most compelling, that almost give you chills, that really fire you up. Because if you're not waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning, fired up and juiced to take on the day, you don't have strong enough reasons.
Yeah.
Because when you have the reasons, they'll help you accomplish those big 5. And it's funny, people are like, I don't need reasons, and they have all these goals with no reasons, and they never accomplish them because they don't realize why. But right when the challenge happens, the reasons pull you through the challenge to go to the next step. If I didn't have reasons, I would have quit 100 times and probably been working at the mall.
Yeah.
Right? So reasons. And then after that, here's the key. It's the one skill. What is the one skill that you need to master in the next couple months, not 6 months, the next month or 2, that's gonna help all these 5 the most? Don't study 10 skills. What's the one skill that you need to master that's most relevant to your strengths and also to these 5 goals? And then what's the one person you need to hire that can help speed up the process for you? And then once I did that, it was a game changer, because then I realized, okay, all I wanna focus on is blank. Everything I studied, every video I watched, every YouTube, every podcast was only focused on
that one
that
skill.
Everyone's so obsessed with personal growth and information. They watch everything and then they wonder why they're overwhelmed. If you're overwhelmed, you will subconsciously seek distraction. And millennials are obsessed with information when they should be obsessed with results and outcomes. So I tell you, after you make this list, it's 1 page. It's like 1-page plan.
Yeah.
Figure out, okay, what do I need to master? And then that's all you study. Just read, just impact, or listen to people that are actually talking about that subject. Only reach out to people that have mastered that subject until you feel like you've mastered it, and then go on to the next. So everything you study should be just focused on that. And that's just the mastery versus overload principle. But now you're more strategic and intentional with what you study. And now you know and you're proven that this skill you're studying is most relevant to these 5 goals. That's how you accomplish them quicker as well. And then just being obsessed with bettering your best and not comparing yourself to anybody else, because that's the ultimate misery. Just comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. That was a big key, is just trying to better your best every single week. If you're just tunnel vision, like, how did I do last week? Man, I'm crushing it. I'm number 1 in the space. Who cares? Did you beat your last week? And I was obsessed with beating my best and bettering. The only person I was comparing myself to is who I was yesterday. And that was a huge game changer. There's also elevating your circle of influence, building your conference account, creating systems and rituals. But I think that's the first step people need to realize is what the heck do you want?
Yeah.
And then what are you willing to give up to actually get what you want? Because most people want, but they're not willing to give up to get what they want. Then they realize why they don't have it, because they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to party and relax and chill, but they also want to be number one and break records and make money. It's like you have to have some period of sacrifice. So the best 6 months has to start with knowing yourself, getting crystal clear on what you want and why, and then eliminating all distractions and making sure everyone you're connecting with thinks bigger and is really leveling up your influence.
And so to just take that a little bit further, so influencers watching, they fill that out. They're getting crystal clarity. They got their reasons defined. They got their 5 things defined. They've got that page. Just walk them through now what to do. So like now there's this facing the next 6 months. And you mentioned a lot of tactics, but then on a day-to-day, week by week, how do you stay, not just fill that out one time, but actually drive it through to see it to the end?
So step 2 is figuring out, elevating your circle of influence. So step 1 was getting your clarity. That's on a 1-page plan. I laminate that and I print out 3 copies. I look at that daily. The key is letting your vision guide you, not your current circumstances. So step 1's clarity. Obviously, if you have clarity with no action, you're gonna be happy and maybe broke, I don't know.
Sure.
You're gonna have clarity but no money, and you can't really have leverage or influence if you have no money. So second step is elevating your influence. So I made a list of my top 5 growth friends that could help me cut my learning curve in half, and then my top 5 maintenance friends that were holding me back. So I just lowered the time I spent with them and I increased the time I spent with my growth friends. So the next step is realizing that there's an answer for everything and you don't have to know the answer. My biggest breakthrough to go from frustrated to super excited and ambitious and energized was realizing I don't have to figure these things out. Someone's already figured it out. So social media, building a membership site, becoming a public speaker, getting paid to speak, writing a book. I didn't have to figure out how to do it. I went to the best and I was super consistent and persistent about reaching out to them and having them cut my learning curve in half. So at that page, I would write down, who do I need to connect with that can cut my learning curve in half? Then I would reach out to them and they would help me accomplish these 5 goals, because you can't do it on your own. And a lot of people have Superman syndrome when they want to do everything themselves, then they're burnt out. I had to figure out who I needed on my team and who could help me get there at a faster rate. Then I had result rituals. I would figure out in my head, based on tracking, okay, what did I do last week that got real results? Like, what were the needle movers, like the movement drivers of my productivity? And I would study exactly, I would look at my week. I worked 60 hours. What hours produce the highest ROI? And I would track everything. I think tracking everything is huge key. If you have 15,000 subscribers on YouTube, where did those 15,000 come from? 80% produce, or 20% produce 80% of the results, right? So figuring out like the 80-20 rule and doing that to everything in your business is the next step, figuring out where you want to go. But a lot of people do this, Sean, without knowing why they want to go a certain place and exactly where they're going. So a lot of people will build their YouTube, but they don't have an end result. So once you have the end result, and then you have people that you can actually bridge the gap and help you get there faster, and then you start tracking your result rituals, figuring out what strengths that you want to continue perfecting and what you're going to delegate, what you're going to get rid of. I think that's the next step, is delegating and figuring out like what your area of genius is, figuring out your strength, mixing it with your passion, and then solving a problem people care about is a huge way to build a brand. But doing this to make sure it's the best 6 months ever is finding the right people on your team and then tracking everything you're doing and figuring out like how much you need to sacrifice to get to that level. Like if you're trying to make 300 grand and you're dead broke, it's like you're gonna have to work 7 days a week and miss family events. So figuring out what you're willing to give up and sell. Here's a big one. After you have your 1 page, after you have your circle of influence elevated, after you kind of have a mentor, then it's selling yourself on everything you're doing. So I had to sell myself on the lifestyle when I was 22 to 27, 28. I didn't go home much. Hey, Peter, we have blank's wedding. Sorry. Like, I already made a decision. I can't do that. I'm gonna grind right now. So when I'm 28 and 30 and 40 and 50, I don't have to wait on somebody. I don't have to ask people for money. I want to be able to be free. So knowing what sacrifice you need to make before you make that 6 month. If you want the best 6 months ever, you have to give up more than you've ever given up, and you have to work harder than you ever have. Right? So I mean, I could talk more tactical steps, but I think people could get enough from just understanding to get clear, to find the right people. Everyone you should be around. Everyone you're around the next 6 months that's watching should already be where you want to go.
Smart,
Period. So when I was broke, everyone I talked to was making 500 grand plus. people always ask, how'd you get to 6 figures so quick? Well, everyone I talked to was making $500,000. All I did is do what they told me. I'd be an idiot not to make 6 figures, at least 100 grand, if I'm only around people making $500,000.
Yeah.
Because they think different and act different. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's it. It's just like, you cannot get to the next level by being who you are now. You have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what the 6-month vision is reinventing yourself. Why do you want to level up? Imagine all the goals and things you can accomplish in 6 months, and then imagine and reward yourself at the end, but imagine how it's going to look making up for all the times in your life where you didn't give your all or you gave up. That I stacked so much ammo and so many reasons in my 6 months. That's why I did that.
I love that.
So there's a lot of different things they can take, but I think that's the way to get the, not just 6 figures, but have your best months ever.
Yeah, super strong. So influencers, tell us in the comments below, what is your ideal outcome? And it might be like your big ideal outcome, but let's talk about the next 6 months. Like, what is one goal out of the 5 that you'd want to accomplish in the next 6 months? Post that in the comments. And then of course, we'll link up some resources. I recommend the book. That'd be some good fuel during the next 6 months.
That really breaks down, and I give my scripts on exactly how I reached out to influencers, how I got a hold of Mark Cuban and all these people.
Yeah.
So I give the exact script too. I'd love to hear the reason. I'd love to hear your strongest reason of why you want to influence and why you want to be a social media influencer, why you want to impact people, why you want to build a legacy. I'd love to hear that reason. We did the craziest study in my sales team. This is crazy. We had the top 10 record breakers that sold the most and that made the most money. And we went through all of their reasons, and I'm not joking you, from number 10 to number 1, weakest to strongest reason. Number 10, best sales rep, good reason. Down number 1, the strongest reason. So whoever has the strongest reasons of why they want to succeed usually have the best results. It's never about your past or your age. Age is fully irrelevant these days. People are like, well, I'm only 18. I know 15-year-olds making $1 million a year, and I know broke 40-year-olds.
Yep.
How is age irrelevant?
Yeah.
Like, age just doesn't mean anything. And people say, I have 20 years of experience. No, you don't. You have 1 year repeated 20 times because you're doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So people always, how many of you guys have had old people like, I have 30 years? No, you don't. You did the same thing for 30 years, bro. Yeah. You got 1 year repeated 30 times because you never innovated or grew or got better. So I don't even remember what my point was, but I'm just passionate. So the reality is, like, there's no excuse. Like, grew up in a small town, or you're this, or your parents this, or you're young, you're old. Like, if you look around, society has shattered every single excuse humanly possible. Yeah. So it's like, there's just no, looking in the mirror and realizing that you're your only competition, and the stronger reasons you have inside you that can really push you, the higher up you'll get in success, but then not sacrificing your values on the way, like a lot of people do, is how you'll be fulfilled while doing it as well. So we could keep going on and on, but
super strong. So definitely check out a bunch of resources. We'll link in the description below. Peter, where can people connect with you? You know, thanks so much for coming on. I just want to affirm, you know, I've been watching your stuff for a while now, from the mixtapes to the books. Just your content, it's really inspiring and it's different, you know, and that's what's one of the things that's cool, because different is better than better. It stands out. But speak to just some of the things that you have coming up, including the mixtape that's out now.
That's my, just released. That's like my proudest. I took all the years of experience, all the surveying, and I love music, so I mixed motivational, my best content, my most tactical best content, a lot of the stories that I've learned in my life that have helped me shape who I am today, and a lot of lessons I've learned, and I put it behind motivational beats. That's on iTunes now. It's called the Know Yourself Mixtape. It's part 2, actually. Know Yourself part 1, released last year. And they can find me I'm on Instagram. I'm on everywhere, Peter J. Voogd. And if they reach out and say they heard about me through you, I'll definitely give them some time, and if they need any help or any questions as well. And then if they want to check out the Academy, it's GameChangersMovement.com. Tough to get into, but if they want to level up, they can check that out as well. So appreciate you, man, for making an impact.
So we'll link all that in the description below. Peter, can you just give a final word of encouragement to just the influencers watching? These are entrepreneurs of all different ages, but a lot of, you know, millennials watching as well, because it's discouraging. At the end of the day, when you start building something, eventually you're going to get punched in the face. Eventually you're going to have that time where maybe you're, you know, on the top, but you also just like, man, I want to quit. And so can you share a final word for those going through it, wherever they're at?
One, tough times don't last, tough people do. And realizing that the tougher your struggles, the more exciting your successes will be. And I challenge them, like you said, your back's against the wall. I challenge you not to wait till your back's against the wall, not to wait till you're running out of money, not to wait till your kids don't know who you are, not to wait until you have health problems. I would tell you that the number one reason people don't succeed these days is they never tell themselves right now matters. Now matters more than ever, because if you maximize now and today, tomorrow takes care of itself. So just telling yourself, not in 2 hours, not tomorrow, like right now, after this exact video, what are you gonna do different? While most people escape reality, go watch TV or go talk a lot, what are you gonna do to actually give yourself the best possible advantage to succeed as an influencer? Because most people wanna succeed and they feel like they need to succeed, but they don't deserve it based on their actions. So I'd tell them now matters more than ever. Not tomorrow, not next week, don't live on someday aisle, now matters. If you take care of now, most people spend the first half of their life saying they're too young, and the second half they're like, I'm too old. Don't be like most people.
Yeah.
I challenge you to level up and rise above the noise, because people need you.
All right, so I hope that you found that training with Peter valuable. And question of the day, what is one of your ideal outcomes, one of the goals that you want to have happen by the end of the next 6 months? Definitely post that in the comments section. So thanks for checking out this video. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. And if you want to see the full-length interview that we did with Peter Voogd, click or tap the screen right there. For another video from Video Influencers, click or tap the screen right there. Until next time, this channel is all about helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online video. Keep crushing it, and we will talk soon.